Hi, I am Dr. Sharada Ramdas, Professor in the Department of Food Service Management and Dietetics in Avinashilingam University, Coimbatore. Previously, we have seen the complications in obesity. In this session, we will see specifically the childhood obesity. The objective of this module are to understand the contributing factors of childhood obesity, know the risk, complications and long effects of childhood obesity, explore the ways of treating and preventing childhood obesity. Childhood obesity. Worldwide, obesity trends are causing serious public health concern and in many countries threatening the viability of basic health care delivery. Childhood obesity affects more than 50% of children, making it one of the common chronic diseases of childhood. Childhood obesity is not just a cosmetic problem. Today, more and more children being diagnosed with diabetes, hypertension and other comorbid conditions associated with obesity and morbid obesity. Childhood obesity is a global phenomenon affecting all socio-economic groups irrespective of age, sex or ethnicity. Let me explain the causes of childhood obesity. Although the causes of childhood obesity are widespread, certain factors are targeted as major contributors to this epidemic. In most cases, excess weight is due to overeating, under-exercising, besides genetic or hormonal causes of childhood obesity. Children require extra calories to fuel their growth and development. If they have taken in the appropriate amount of calories, they should add weight in proportion to their growth. Nevertheless, if they consume more calories than they are burning off, the result will be unnecessary weight gain. Childhood obesity is usually a result of a number of other factors working together to increase risk. It is shown in the next slide. That is environment, lack of physical activity, restriction of sedentary behavior, heredity and family, dietary patterns, socio-economic status, psychological factors, medical conditions and sleep are the other causes for childhood obesity. How does environment cause obesity in childhood? Environment plays a key role in shaping an individual's habits and lifestyle. Many environmental factors influence and affect the health decisions. Today's society has developed a more sedentary lifestyle. Walking has been replaced by driving cars. Basic physical activity has been replaced by technology and nutrition has been overcome by fast foods. It is estimated that more money is spent on food outside home at restaurants, cafeterias and sporting events. In addition, as portion sizes have increased, when people eat out, they tend to eat a larger quantity of food high in calories than when they eat at home. Besides this, beverages such as carbonated soft drinks and juice boxes also greatly contribute to the childhood obesity epidemic. It is not uncommon for a bottle of soft drink to be marketed toward children, which contains approximately 400 calories. It is noted that 20% of children who are currently overweight are due to excessive calorie intake from beverages. Scientific studies have documented a 60% increase risk of obesity for every regular soft drink consumed per day. The next factor is lack of physical activity. School-aged children spend most of their day in schools where their only activity comes during breaks or physical education classes. Parents are more concerned about the safety of outside play and even to go to the corner store they rely much on cars rather than walking. Only 50% of children 12 to 20 years of age regularly participate in rigorous physical activity, while 25% of children report no physical activity. The average child spends 2 hours a day watching television, but 26% of children watch at least 4 hours of television per day. Because of these inadequate physical inactivity, they burn fewer calories and are more likely to gain weight. Another major contributing to the childhood obesity epidemic is the increased sedentary lifestyle of children. The growing use of computers, increased time watching television, video games, and decreased physical education in schools all contribute to children living a more sedentary lifestyle. Every hour of sedentary activity increases the chances of obesity and is also contributed to failure of many weight reduction attempts in children. Excessive TV viewing is associated with higher intake of energy, fat, sweet and salty snacks and carbonated beverages, in addition to reducing consumption of fruits and vegetables. This makes TV time restriction and an excellent opportunity to complement dietary management. Science shows that heredity and family play a role in obesity. It has been proven that children with obese parents are more likely to be obese, especially if high calorie food is readily available and physical activity is not encouraged. Heredity contributes between 5 to 25% of the risk for obesity. However, genes alone do not always dictate whether a child overweight or obese. Learned behaviors from parents are a major contributing factor. Parents, especially of those whose children are at risk for obesity at a young age, should promote healthy food and lifestyle choices early in their development. Next, we will see dietary patterns. Over the past few decades, dietary patterns have changed significantly. Average amount of calories consumed per day has dramatically increased. Research shows that the calorie intake of children is increased by developing snacking habits and unhealthy lunch options. Children aged 2 to 6 who consumed snack had an extra 181 calories per day rather than the traditional nutritious food as compared to 2 decades earlier. Children prefer consumption of high calorie foods such as more of fast foods or junk foods, cookies and other baked items, soda, candy, chips and vending machine snacks, which contribute to weight gain rather than the traditional nutritious food. Furthermore, parents and guests greet the children with chocolates, candy bars, chips, fried items, pizzas and sweets. Food portions also play an important role in the unhealthy diet pattern that have evolved. The prevalence of extra large options and all you can eat buffet create a trend in overeating. Combined with the lack of physical activity, children are consuming more and expending less. Next, educational levels contribute to the socio-economic issue associated with obesity. Illiterate or lower level educated parents have not been exposed to information about proper nutrition and healthy food choices. This makes it difficult to instill those important values in their children. Low income parents may lack the time and resources necessary to purchase and prepare healthy food versus fast food, which is cheaper and more readily available in low income communities. Next, psychological factors. Like adults, Some kids may turn to food as a coping mechanism for dealing with problems or negative emotions like stress, anxiety or boredom. Children with psychological problem in the family may eat more and result in obesity. Next, medical condition. Certain genetic diseases and hormonal disorders can predispose a child to obesity. Do you know hypothyroidism? When the thyroid gland located in the neck just below the voice box is underactive and does not release enough of the hormones that control metabolism. Prader-Willi syndrome, a genetic disorder affecting the part of the brain that controls feelings of hunger, and Cushing syndrome, a disorder in which your body is exposed too much of the hormone cortisol from overproduction in the adrenal glands, or use of medications such as those for asthma predisposes to childhood obesity. Sleep. Researchers found that kids who sleep less than the recommended amount of about 13 hours a day at age 2 are more likely to be obese at age 7. One reason, fatigue alters the level of appetite regulating hormones, which can cause children to eat more. So far we have seen how environment, sedentary lifestyle behavior, heredity, dietary factors, socio-economic status, psychological factors, medications and sleep causes childhood obesity. Now we move on to risks, complications and long-term health effects of childhood obesity. The consequences of childhood obesity may be grouped into 3 areas: physical, mental and economical. The known physical side effects of obesity are multiple and broad spectrum in character. There will be increase in risk of developing type 2 diabetes mellitus due to excessive insulin secretion and organ resistant to insulin. Second, menstrual irregularity and infertility. Third one, heart attack and stroke due to hypercholesterolemia or hyperlipidemia and hypertension. Fourth, pulmonary issue centering on asthma and obstructive sleep apnea. Orthopedic issues of bowel legs, hip instability, for example slipped capital femoral epiphysis. Metabolic issues like non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, gallstone and gastroesophageal reflux. Psychological consequences are equally as important as that of physical side effects of obesity. Lowering of self-esteem, often reinforced by teasing and bullying at school. Depression leading to possible further eating or an exaggerated overcorrection leading to eating disorders such as bulimia and anorexia nervosa. The economic costs of childhood obesity are not often considered but are very important. Such effects include the direct cost includes medical office visits, diagnostic studies and therapeutic services. The indirect costs are both long and short term and include decrease in productivity, absenteeism and premature death. So, measuring obesity in children in terms of body mass index BMI and clinical assessment are essential to control the risk of obese children. Assessing the body mass index of children is more complicated than for adults because it changes as they grow and mature. In addition, growth patterns differ between boys and girls. Thresholds that take into account a child's age and sex are used to assess whether their BMI is too high or too low. These are usually derived from a reference population known as a child growth reference with the data presented in BMI centile charts. In a clinical assessment, a child or young person or above the 98th centile is classified as obese. A child or young person on or above the 91st centile but below the 98th centile is classified as overweight. When monitoring and comparing groups of children and young people, BMI Z scores may be used. BMI Z score is a measure of how many standard deviations a child or young person's BMI is above or below the average BMI for their age and gender. This is based on a reference population known as a child growth reference, as already mentioned. The advantage of using BMI Z scores instead of BMI is that it allowed direct comparison of BMI across different ages and by gender. This term is sometimes used interchangeably with BMI standard deviation score. After knowing the severity of obesity, the next step is treating childhood obesity. Remember that the goal for overweight and obese children is to reduce the rate of weight gain while allowing normal growth and development. Children and teens should not be placed on a weight reduction diet without the consultation of a healthcare provider. Just dieting alone is not advisable for weight reduction regime. One needs to address multiple aspects of the child and the family's lifestyle, nutrition and physical activity patterns. Involving the family in a child's weight management program is a key element to treatment. The first step is to assess the readiness of the child and family to make changes, followed by setting the desired goals. It is important to work and develop an individualized plan of care that includes realistic goals and action steps. If obesity is due to psychological reason, this needs to be addressed prior to working on the child's weight problem. If a depressed child attempts weight loss and is unsuccessful, this may worsen their depression or lower their self-esteem. So, let us see the various treatments of obesity in children. They are dietary therapy, physical activity, behavioral modification. First, let me tell you on diet therapy. In this, dietitian and the family members play a key role. When treating an obese child, consultation with the dietitian is essential who can address the child's needs. They help children understand healthy eating habits and how to implement them in their long-term diet. Dietitians do not always recommend restricting calorie intake for children. Education on how to identify healthy food, cut back on portions, understand the food pyramid and eat smaller bites at a smaller pace is generally the information given to change a child's eating habits. The family has a very important role as a child is still dependent on them to prepare the food. It is the family that can inculcate the child to learn to be aware of what they eat by developing healthy eating habits, looking for ways to make favorite dishes healthier and reducing calorie-rich temptations. Encourage healthy eating habits. There is no great secret to healthy eating. To help your children and family develop healthy eating habits. How? Provide plenty of vegetables, fruits and whole grain products. Include low fat or non-fat milk or dairy products. Choose lean meats, poultry, fish, lentils and beans for protein. Serve reasonably sized portions. Encourage to drink lot of water. Limit sugar sweetened beverages. Limit consumption of sugar as well as saturated fat. Look for ways to make favorite dishes healthier. The recipes that one may prepare regularly and that the family enjoys with just a few changes can be healthier and just as satisfying. Remove calorie rich temptations. Although everything can be enjoyed in moderation, reducing the calorie rich temptations of high fat and high sugar or salty snacks can also help your children develop healthy eating habits. Instead, only allow your children to eat them sometimes so that they truly will be treats. Is diet alone sufficient? No. Physical activity is also needed to reduce weight. Physical activity is an important long-term ingredient for children, as studies indicate that inactivity in childhood has been linked to a sedentary adult lifestyle. Increasing physical activity can decrease or at least slow the increase in fatty tissues in obese children. It is recommended that children get at least 60 minutes of physical activity most days of the week, preferably daily. Remember that children imitate adults. Hence, it is important for the adult in the family to stay fit. Encourage the children to find fun activities to do with family members or on their own that simply involve more activity. The third aspect, behavior modification, will also facilitate weight loss in children. Lifestyles and behaviors are established at a young age. It is important for parents and children to remain educated and focused on making long-term healthy lifestyle choices. In addition to encouraging physical activity, help children avoid too much sedentary time. Although quiet time for reading and homework is fine, limit the time of watching television, play video games or surf the web to no more than 2 hours per day. There are several ways that children can modify their behavior for healthier outcomes, such as changing eating habits, increasing physical activity, becoming educated about the body and how to nourish it appropriately, engaging in a support group activity and setting realistic weight management goals. Besides dietary therapy, physical activity and behavioral modification, social and cultural changes are also necessary to effectively address the pediatric obesity epidemic. What will you do for this? Look at this slide. It shows that advocate breastfeeding during the first year of life. Studies strongly reinforce that breastfed children have a lower risk of infant, childhood and adolescent obesity. Drastically overhaul the school breakfast and lunch program to favor heart healthy food choices, encouraging salad bars, banning sugar drinks and flavored milk are options. Guarantee safe neighborhood environments which foster outside play activities. Limit TV, computer, social network communication or other activities which encourage sedentary behaviors among children. Encourage vigorous physical education program for 60 minutes daily. Revamp restaurant portion sizes. Studies had repeatedly demonstrated a link to the rise in pediatric obesity with fast food restaurants' adoption of supersized portions as well as the bundling of food options. For example, hamburgers, french fries and soda. Instead, use traditional healthy snacks. Encourage the development of activity, friendly infrastructure in communities, bike lanes, regional parks, etc. Many studies have shown that the social and cultural changes above must be accompanied by a strong family and community support structure, without which these approaches often fall short. Shall we see now how to prevent obesity among childhood? The ideal preventive strategy for obesity is to prevent children with a normal desirable BMI from becoming overweight or obese. Preventive strategies should start as early as newborn period. The strategies may be attempted at the individual, community or physician's level. Those at the individual level backed by consistent evidence include limiting screen time to less than 2 hours, removing television and computers from primary sleeping areas, eating breakfast regularly, limiting eating out especially at fast food restaurants, encouraging family meals and limiting portion sizes, encouraging diets with recommended quantities of fruits and vegetables have been supported by mixed evidence. Healthy behavior derived from this evidence include consuming a balanced diet rich in calcium and fiber, initiating and maintaining breastfeeding, accumulating 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous physical activity per day, and limiting consumption of energy dense foods. To conclude, preventive strategies should start as early as newborn period. If not, to overcome the problem of childhood obesity, follow strictly dietary therapy, physical activity, behavioral modification and socio-cultural changes. So, later life will be healthy and fruitful. See you in the next session when we deal with how to maintain body fat and body mass index. Till then, bye to all the listeners.